Hello and welcome back to Madmousegames. Today I'm painting this beautiful miniature from the Reaper Bones 5 core set. This is the Basilisk, and it was a lot of fun to paint. As you can see, I primed the whole model in black, and now I am applying a dark blue base coat for the skin. Soon I'll go on and do a brown base coat for kind of all the scales on the top, as well as the top of the face and the crest on top. Now you can see me applying kind of the first blue coat of paint on top of the base I set. And with this model, I basically just layered a lot. I started with a darker blue and worked my way up to a lighter blue. And throughout the process, there were a couple of times where I added too light of a color. I came back through with what's kind of like a glaze, I guess you could say, of a lighter blue, and fixed it and kind of leveled it out so that it made a better blend. Here you can see me applying a brown layer on top of the darker brown layer I'd already created. This was something I put on the crest, above the eyes, on the nostrils, and basically anything that stood out on the scales. This created a really nice layer that I could again build up on, just like the layering I was doing for the legs. A lot of times I like to layer one part of the model all at once, but in this case I really wanted the layers to all kind of have the same intensity of highlights, and so as I would layer one of the different components, I decided that I would also layer the next component. So as I layered the skin, I also layered the rest of the model so that I could hopefully end up with the same intensity on the top of the model and the bottom of the model. So here you can see me again applying the next layer of blue to just make it lighter and lighter, slowly working my way up toward what I had envisioned. One thing I really enjoyed about this model was how many edges there were. For example, this one right here above the eye, as well as it looks like 3 little kind of ridges underneath the eye. Being able to highlight these sections that stand out, it's really nice the way that this model was made. Made it really easy to paint those and not mess them up. And just keeping careful while doing so went really far. So with this model, I did an awful lot of layering. And layering is kind of the most basic, I think, of painting techniques here. It also takes probably the most time, because basically you will apply probably 10 coats on this guy's legs alone just to get them to the final product that I wanted. So painting the model 10 times can take a lot of effort and time. So one thing I did do with this model a little bit was a little bit of wet blending. And it was not really easy to do, probably because I didn't thin my paints enough. And I did it in an area between the red and the blue, and so in between was kind of a little bit of a purple, I guess you could say. But overall, this is a model that was really fun to do, and I mostly did layering. Here you can see me applying a really bright blue. Now this is something that I would come back and tone down again by doing a little bit of a glaze. I basically took the last color of blue I had applied, added a little bit of the lighter blue, and then really watered it down. Here you can see me applying it, and already as I put it on, you can see it making those really bright blues much better. And it kind of blended between the darker and the lighter that I already had on there, which gave it a really nice look. As a final highlight on the legs, you can see me here adding these really light bits of blue on kind of what looked like warts that were modeled onto the skin. And this was a really nice touch to add a really bright blue to kind of break up the rest of it, and I think it gives it a really good look. So always remember on those really high parts, or maybe individual little things that have been modeled on, to go ahead and make those stand out. It really makes these look nice and really brings the piece all together, I think. After I built up on the reds and really did the same thing that I had done with the blues, I decided to start working on these horns. I painted these very similar to how I did the teeth on my Thing in the Well video. If you want to check that out, I'll leave a little thing up in the top right corner that you can click on that'll take you and show you how I did those. But basically the premise is you put down brown, then you get kind of a lighter, it's more of a darker bone but a lighter brown color. Apply that on just a little bit of the horn segment, and then you'll come back through again at the very end with a very bright white for kind of just the tip to make it look like those horns have aged. I also did a little bit of that to all the plates on the back, just a really light kind of brown, and applied that to a lot of the high regions to make them look like they get some wear and tear. And that ended up being a really nice thing on this model. And just like with the blue, I think that I applied this too brightly on the scales on the back, and so I did come back through with kind of a brown, again almost like a glaze, and went over those sections to make them dulled down again, but still be different than the rest of the scale. One of my favorite things about this model is how big the eyes were. It was very easy to get in here with a fine brush and make an eye. Basically what I did was I did a yellow eye and then a black slit pupil on there, and it ended up giving it a very reptilian look. So here you can see me finishing off the horns with a brighter white on just the tips, making them look more like a horn and less like kind of a brown thing sticking out of its head. After finishing the horns, I figured it was time to finish up the claws that it had. I painted them just a dark black, excuse me. And then I did end up basing the Mini with some dark gray and light gray highlights, as well as a black rim around it. And this is the finished product. Overall, this guy was a lot of fun to paint. I'm excited to put him down in front of my players at some point. And as always, if you enjoyed the video, please give us a like, subscribe to see more, and comment if there's anything you want to see me paint or any techniques you'd like to see tried. I'm always down for trying new things. Again, I just want to thank you all for watching. and have a wonderful day.